Hello, I'm Millie Weaver, and you are watching the Millennial Millie Show. Well, today Californians are fighting back. Gavin Newsom is now feeling the heat after his bad decisions to keep the entire state of California locked down for almost a year now, destroying many small town businesses, all the while himself and other elite Democrats can run around and enjoy their lives as normal while expecting Americans to just ignore the fact that they've shut down the entire economy. Okay, so Gavin Newsom, he's now being recalled in California. And this is the funniest part of all, guys. Gavin Newsom is trying to blame it on the rhinos and QAnon. Okay, this is ridiculous. The petitions signed are over 2 million Californians that are angry, rightfully so, that Gavin Newsom decided to just shut down the economy. I went to California to go interview a whistleblower during the economic shutdowns, and the place was a ghost town. Aside from the massive amounts of homeless people that were out wandering the streets, sleeping on the side of the streets, trash everywhere, okay? And we're talking like large trash items heaped up on the side of highways. It was bad. I grew up and was raised in California. So just not being there for years and then coming back and seeing that was disturbing. You couldn't even eat inside a restaurant or anything, so it made traveling very hard. So now California Governor Gavin Newsom, he's launching his campaign to stop the recall effort against him, which is pretty funny. I think it's pretty funny because now he's having to campaign to not get recalled. See, this is a prime example of exactly how we can hit back against these politicians that think that they are above the law and that they can just wield power with these executive orders and these mandates and these guidelines and just tell us all what to do. We can hit back by doing petitions and recall efforts. You know, the funny thing here is even though he's trying to claim that these are all white supremacists and Trump movements and that this is the RNC behind this, it's pretty obvious that that's not the case. Now, the groups that have been doing the petitioning, they have actually said that at least 1/3 of the people that have signed their petitions are Democrats and independents. So this is not just a Republican movement. Not white supremacist groups. That's what Gavin Newsom is trying to say. It's pretty sad. The only thing he can kind of resort to when he's faced with being recalled for his horrible policies that have devastated the lives of people in California, his only resort is to resort to race, really and truly. He goes to fear-mongering when it comes to race, and then he also throws out this little carrot on a stick like, yeah, by the way, I'm actually planning to nominate a black woman if Senator Feinstein, whatever her name is, retires. So that's like all he has to offer is, look, I'm going to like appease you with this, and it's pathetic. Okay, I can't even say it. It's that pathetic. All right, let's listen to Gavin Newsom. Look at the fear on this man's face. Like, he is shook. Okay, he is concerned. He's trying to play it off like, oh yeah, you know, I've got this. But man, he is shook. Just watch.
At the end of the day, these principles are what we're fighting for.
So, Governor, you say that this recall effort has ties to the same extremist groups that stormed the Capitol. But organizers claim more than 1/3 of signatures are from Democrats, independents, and unaffiliated voters mad that your pandemic policies shuttered businesses and schools. Are both true?
Well, the chief proponent of this, and forgive me, this is just objective truth. The chief proponent of this recall petition supports putting microchips into migrants, into immigrants. The other proponents, the top 10 proponents, the people that are behind this, are members of the Three Percenters, the right-wing militia group, the Proud Boys, supported the insurrection, are folks that quite literally, enthusiastically support QAnon conspiracies. And so that's the origin here. Now, as it relates to the people that signed this petition, it just takes 1/4 of people that supported Donald Trump to put a petition on the ballot, or rather a recall on the ballot. We're one of just 19 states in the country that allows this process, but we have the lowest threshold in America. And of course, you're all very familiar. We had a recall not too many years ago in 2003. And so, Whoopi, it goes to your original question. Am I worried about it? Of course I'm worried about it. The nature of these things, the up or down question, the zero-sum nature of the question is challenging and it's vexing. And so, we're taking it seriously. I have to do my job every single day, but I'm going to fight this thing because I'm going to fight for California values and the things I hold dear, and I think the vast majority of Californians, regardless of their political stripes, hold dear.
Governor, back in November, you faced backlash for...
Okay, so you heard it yourself. If you don't not recall me, you're a racist. He's basically calling everyone a racist that wants to recall him. Yeah, writing off the possibility. There's a possibility that maybe the reason people want to recall you is because you shut down the entire economy, shut down the schools, shut down all the shops, shut down all the businesses. Small business owners are losing their lives over this. Meanwhile, you yourself, Gavin Newsom, you can go out to expensive birthday parties and birthday dinners. You can go out and enjoy your time at French Laundry, the high-end restaurant, while everyone else is forced to be shuttered indoors, hiding, abiding by your insane draconian laws. Yeah. And even after, Gavin Newsom, after he got exposed for his little birthday extravaganza at this fine dining restaurant with all of his friends, because, yeah, he's so concerned about catching COVID, right? He apologized. He said that he shouldn't have attended the birthday party at French Laundry amid COVID-19 surge. Oh, man. And, part of me just believes that he's just upset and really feeling like he shouldn't have done it because he's realizing the PR blunder that it created, and now he's sitting there looking like a hypocrite, really probably just upset that somebody caught him, because at the end of the day, these people show no signs or indication that they actually were concerned about COVID-19. No, they know what it really is. It's rules for you and no rules for me. Rules for ye, none for me. That is what it is. They think that they are the elite, that they are the chosen ones. He violated his own rules. You don't think that's why Californians are upset? Californians should recall Nancy Pelosi too while they're at it. Nancy Pelosi's horrible. And she is a hypocrite as well, because remember when she shut all the doors with endorsing all of these policies, and she closed down all these beauty salons and hair salons, yet meanwhile, she got caught. The salon owner herself outed Nancy Pelosi because it's like, this is a bunch of hypocritical nonsense. You're so concerned, right? Yet she doesn't even have her face mask over her freaking nose. Look at her. So concerned. So concerned. And she's supposedly in the high-risk group. Yet she doesn't seem to be concerned. What should that tell you? Okay? What should that say? It speaks volumes. Okay? The owner said it was a slap in the face. Why? Because she had to keep her doors closed for other people, for American citizens, but no, Nancy Pelosi, the elite goddess, bow down and worship her holy skeksiness. She can go in there and she can get her hair done. What a bunch of baloney. This reminds me of communism, in a weird way, like how all of the communist policies get applied to like the masses, and the masses are all eating Venezuelan rats and living poor, but the elite still get to have their luxury lifestyles, their mansions, their fine dining. That's starting to look like how the Democrats want it to be on the regular, okay? And that's what's scary. This is what the salon owner said back then. She said, I'm sharing this because of what everyone in my industry and my city is going through right now. It's almost like there's some tone deafness going on, like some Marie Antoinette type of thing going on with these Democrats, where their let them eat cake attitude has gotten them to this point to where now all of these people in California are like, no, we're recalling Gavin Newsom. We can't survive on nothing. We can't survive on these tiny little stimulus checks that you give us because it doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't even feed us. So the people are now petitioning. Over 2 million people signed these petitions to get Gavin Newsom out of there. But Gavin Newsom's response is just that, oh, yeah, it's just racists. The only people that would ever want to recall me are obviously just white supremacists, racists, Proud Boys, nah. What are we in? Is this clown world? Well, one of the things I think is really bizarre, and I don't know if many of you know this, but did you know that Gavin Newsom is actually the ex of Kimberly Guilfoyle? You know Kimberly Guilfoyle, the girl who now is the girlfriend of Donald Trump Jr.? Yeah, that's weird. They even have a child together. Check that out. That's a fun fact for everyone. I think that's kind of weird. But I don't think at the same time that it's weird that Kimberly would want to leave Gavin Newsom and his beta boy butt for someone like Donald Trump Jr., a real man. So, you know, although it is weird, as in, you know, this weird coincidence, at the same time, it's understandable. But yeah, she was married to Gavin Newsom. They divorced in 2006. And she had a husband in between that as well. But they have one child together. That must be a really awkward child custody pickup and drop off. I mean, just saying, that would be really awkward. But yeah, I mean, later in the show today, we are going to take callers. So about a half hour in, so probably around 2:30, you guys will get to chime in and give your take and your perspective on this. I hope to hear from a lot of Californians today. That would be lovely. So I'm going to give out the call-in number just for a minute here, and then I'm going to go back to talking news. Call-in number is 855. And tell me if this is not the coolest call-in number. Like, seriously. It is 855-475-1776. So when you guys are ready, 855-475-1776. We'll probably be going to callers about, like I said, halfway through the hour. So yeah, here's the thing. So what is the likelihood that Gavin Newsom actually gets recalled? All right, so I'm going to go through the process with you guys. All right, so the petitioners have already met the threshold. And that is why Gavin Newsom is panicking right now. They had to meet 1.5 million, and they've already surpassed that at 2 million. Now, the next thing is the people on Gavin Newsom's side, and all these, the Democrats, are going to be really pushing to make sure that the signatures can be verified and validated. You're going to have the Secretary of State and others overlooking these signatures to make sure that there aren't any discrepancies, so that, you know, this is going to be funny because we're going to start to see them really like, we have to verify these people are who they say they are. Wait, what? All of a sudden you want to verify who voters are? You know, like, what's going on? I thought you guys didn't care about that. Well, I guess you didn't care about that when it fits your agenda, but when it comes to recalling you, you know, that's when, you know, I mean, because look at this ABC article just really goes into it, about how the Secretary of State is going to be verifying the authenticity, and they have until April 29th to verify all of these signatures. And then after that, they have like 90 days or so to actually initiate an election. So realistically, we would not be seeing an actual recall election until September-ish. September, October-ish. Maybe even as late as November. So they're going to try to drag their heels, draw it out, do all this processes to verify these signatures and make sure that, you know, they look over it with a magnifying glass. And then we're going to see the recall election. And I think in that time period, we're going to see Gavin Newsom, well, one, he's going to be campaigning. And he's already got like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and all these people promoting him. They've got their little stop the recall little effort that they have. They've got a website, Stop the Republican Recall, which is what they're claiming. They're claiming it's a Republican recall, but really and truly, it's just Californians have had enough. Enough. So these are the people supporting him: Senator Alex Padilla, Senator Bernie Sanders, Senator Elizabeth Warren, Senator Cory Booker, Stacey Abrams, Representative Katie Porter, and Representative Ro Khanna. So, yeah. Those are the people who are supporting Gavin Newsom. Of course. Why am I not surprised? And they're, of course, trying to say this is all Republican and raise all this money. And, yeah, the QAnon thing. Like, they're saying, oh, this is QAnon, a far-right movement, including QAnon virus skeptics linked to Newsom recall. So they try to say that it's all just people who are anti-vaxxers and, you know, radicals. And come on. This is like a psyop they're trying to run on people. This is their way to control the narrative. These are everyday Californians that are pissed off. They have every right to be. So, yeah. I think that between the time period of now and his little campaign efforts, which instead of campaigning to not be recalled, Gavin Newsom should be, let's say, opening up California and restoring its economy, which is probably what he's going to start doing now. And he's going to start letting everything go back to normal so that people then feel like, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't recall Gavin Newsom. Hey, he just like ruined a bunch of people's livelihoods, but let's just keep him around. Because you know why? Because he says that he's going to endorse a black woman if Senator Feinstein retires. Once again, going into that race-baiting politics. My goodness. All right, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the race theory. Okay? Because the critical race theory is now indoctrinating students all across the United States in the schools. I talked in depth about this earlier last week, but it needs to be talked about more. This is something that it's getting worse, and if we don't do something about it now, we are going to have major problems. Yeah. And one of the things that we could do as parents is we could boycott. Boycotts have been very successful in the past. In 1964, New York City children boycott school. This was back in the civil rights time period when the schools were segregated and the people were not having it. So what did they do? They set up large boycotts. And in this boycott in 1964, 464,000 New York City school children, almost half of the student body, stayed home to protest against school segregation. So look at that. School Freedom Day, right? So on that day, these parents, they kept their kids home from school. And one of the things that people would think, and this was over like 300 different schools. Actually, 960 schools. They marched at 300 of the city's 860 schools. So this was very successful. It got a lot of attention and it spoke volumes. Public schools are paid per day per child. That's how that works. That's how they get that tax money. So if you want to speak volumes to the school system, you take your kid out of the school, because then they don't get that tax money. They don't have money, right, to pay themselves and everything else. They're going to listen. You hit someone in their pocketbook, that's how you get their attention. So we need to be strategic about boycotts. I think that it would be a great idea to organize a boycott where maybe for a couple days, parents pull their kids from the public school system, and we all basically put out a list of demands, and we tell them that we're protesting because you are indoctrinating children in the school setting with critical race theory, which teaches racism. That's what it does. It teaches anti-white racism, but it also confuses the hell out of biracial students that are subjected to it in the class. And because American is a melting pot, that's a lot of kids, right? And at the end of the day, it teaches the racism of low expectations to African Americans and other racial minority groups that, oh, you can't do anything, or you don't have power because you are because of the color of your skin, right? So that's not good. One woman in Ohio has been furious about this, and she spoke out in Ohio at a school board meeting. And she gave a powerful speech. And mind you, I know for a fact that critical race theory is being taught in the public school system up there in Cleveland, Ohio. One of my friend's kids was subjected to it, and she told me all about it. And I even saw some of the internal communiques inside their Zoom school chats where they have Black Lives Matter people coming on and educating the kids and getting into big discussions about race in class and teaching anti-police indoctrination of the youth. So let's listen to this woman who's calling out the school boards, rightfully so. Very powerful speech. Very powerful. Let's listen.
In the document for critical race theory, your stated goal is to make children activists in their own home. What does that mean? Why are you creating trying to create an adversarial relationship between parents and child, when that is the relationship that needs to be strengthened? This school-parent relationship, and you intrinsically just advocating the kids to just be adversarial to their parents, is nuts. This is nuts. And one of the things, let me tell you something. I'm a professional as well. I grew up in corporate America. I've met people like you all every day. You all don't know nothing about black people, but you yet and still, you think you can make rules for black people. The black kids in Beechwood schools, when they were growing up all these decades until you all came along, they didn't look at race or gender. Very successful black people, very successful. But what did you do? You just decided, instead of looking at Beechwood data, you decided to put us lumped in with George Floyd and everybody else that got killed. That had nothing to do with Beechwood, nothing. So what do? You put in stuff like critical race theory and all this other garbage that, first of all, is none of your business.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but just in the fairness, I stopped you at 3 minutes, and I've let you go a little bit longer. You've gone over 4 minutes.
Just let her finish. Let her finish. This isn't. Come on now.
How many black folks do you have that even
in a hurry?
I did allow her to finish. I'm not going to take exception to that.
No, and that's the problem. You don't ask black people how to handle. It was nothing for you all to do here. Now you have kids not liking their own parents. You have black kids that are now racist against their peers. We never saw that. You all went down a road because of what you see nationally that had nothing to do with Beechwood. Now you're teaching, and now you got school systems in this congressional district telling them how to have anal sex, and this is what your sex education. They're teaching The gender unification.
I'm going to cut you off. I'm going to cut you off. I'm going to cut you off.
The gender unicorn is in Shaker. It's in all the cities.
Again, this isn't a back and forth, but I take extreme exception to almost everything that you said because your premise is wrong. This administration and this board is committed to equity for every student in this district. You can shake your heads no out there. We're committed. This board is committed to equity for every student that attends Beechwood schools.
What you read in a book.
Thank you.
What you read in a
We're so happy and friendly and disarming that look at all of these flowers. See, this means that we can't be dangerous to your kids. We're not doing anything wrong. We're just these happy school board administrators that have these big flowers. Why are you yelling at the flowers, ma'am? I mean, we're just wanting to teach your children how to have anal sex. We're just wanting to teach your children how to hate your peers based on the color of their skin. This is a black woman in Ohio who is concerned because the brainwashing, the indoctrination that's happening in the school system is so bad that it's interfering with child and parent relationships. It's making the children argue with their parents and question their parents and not see them as authority figures or having knowledge of the best way for them to think. Because the school is telling them and indoctrinating them to believe otherwise. So it's causing a disruption in the parent-child bond, but it's also causing, like she said, it's causing young black boys and girls to hate their white peers. This is destructive. It is toxic. I talked earlier in the week about how one mom is suing the school system because her son, who is biracial, because he has lighter complected skin, he was forced to stand up in front of the class and confess his white oppressiveness and his white power and all of his evils, right, in front of his peers. And he's just like, his mom's like, you shouldn't have to be doing that. This is disgusting. And he shouldn't. No student, no child should be subjected to that. Confessionals in the classroom setting, confessionals to hate yourself because of your skin color. What are we doing? This is America, right? This is disgusting that this is happening. And I'm glad that this woman spoke out, but more people need to speak out. We need more parents going to these meetings. We need to start having boycotts and protests. This is un-American, I spoke with one of my family members who she's older. She's more of like a classical Democrat, was a former retired school administrator. And I told her about critical race theory and how it's being taught in the schools today. And do you know what her response was? She's a Democrat, by the way. Then the schools should be shut down. And she was livid. Because this is not what we teach in America. Critical race theory actually teaches that Martin Luther King was wrong. That we shouldn't be judged based on the content of our character. Right? They think, no, we should all just be judged and labeled and put in tiers based on our skin color. It's getting so bad that some universities are actually having separate graduation ceremonies for people based on the color of their skin. Columbia University is going to offer 6 graduation ceremonies segregated by race, sexuality, and income level. How is that multicultural? It's disturbing. Look at the list, the lineup here, and notice who's excluded from having their own, right? But since when do they have segregation again back in schools? This is alarming. It's bizarre. They're convincing minorities to want to be segregated. That's not good, okay? That's really not, it's not healthy. So they have a Native graduation ceremony on Sunday, Lavender graduation, which is LGBTQA, on Monday, Asian graduation, an FLI graduation, which is like first generation or low income community, Latinx graduation, and Black graduation. But what groups are left out of that, right? Do they have a biracial graduation? I mean, what happens if you're somewhere in the middle, or even a white graduation? No, because that would be racist, right? So this is just disturbing. This is not American. Convincing, I don't understand how the left is convincing minorities that segregation is cool. What world are we living in? But given that they actually elected Biden for president, who was pro-segregation and advocated for segregation, it kind of makes sense, right? It makes sense that the Democrat Party was the party of the KKK, and this is what we're seeing now. They're just doing it in reverse, right? It'll start as reverse and then maybe go forward. Who knows? All right, so more than 75 colleges host blacks-only graduation ceremonies, and that was in 2009. So that was what came first, was over 75 colleges hosted black-only graduation ceremonies in America. Harvard, UC San Diego, UC Irvine, Arizona State. Like, these are big universities. Columbia University is supposed to be one of the nation's top universities. People are paying a lot of money to go there too, right? Or they're very educated students that get these scholarships. It's scary. It's alarming. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up the call lines. I'm gonna put up the phone number so you guys can get ready and start to dial in. And just give me your thoughts. You know, if you have any stories, if you've experienced this in a college setting, or if you have children that have experienced critical race theory, or if you just are someone in California that wants to talk about Gavin Newsom, or, you know, call in about what you want. So I'm going to go ahead and put up the phone number here for you, and you guys can go ahead and start calling in.
Record your own screaming monster madness. You may be heard by millions nationwide. Call now. Under 18, get permission before calling.
What makes people all over America break down and cry like this? If you're under 18, ask your parents before you call.
Hey kids, call Ask Mom or Dad first.
All right, so that's 855-475-1776. Let's go ahead in and go to our callers. Wow, we've got a lot of people on the line today. The call-in board is lit up. All right, let's go. We're going to be quick today just so we can get through some of these callers. So keep what you want to say in your mind and figure out a way to articulate it quickly, because there's a lot of people on the line today wanting to call in. All right. Hello, hello.
Hello.
So you want to talk about vaccines. What do you think about the likelihood of a vaccine passport?
Oh, I'm not looking forward to it at all. But I actually wanted to call in because I actually work in a nursing home. I'm a housekeeper. And we had been offered the vaccines a couple of weeks ago. And there was surprisingly a good mix of people that took it and a good mix of people who didn't want to take it. But we actually had our director in nursing. She wouldn't even take the vaccine because she said that there wasn't enough information out about it that she felt comfortable taking the vaccine.
Wow. So the director of nursing, like the main person that runs the nursing home, she declined it?
Exactly.
Wow. Well, have you heard of anyone when was this? Was this just the other day or?
This was actually, I'd say about a month or two ago now. And we even had a lady, she works as a nurse. She actually took the vaccine. And right after they gave her the vaccine, she actually went into shock. We had to call an ambulance and everything and send her off to the hospital because she went into shock after getting the vaccine.
Wow. And they're saying that women statistically are having more adverse reactions than men.
Yeah, I did hear that.
Yeah, that's scary. So she went into shock and she had to be wheeled away on a gurney probably into an ambulance. That's crazy.
Yep. Go to the hospital. She spent about a week in the hospital.
Wow. And how soon was that after she took the vaccine that she had that reaction?
It was immediately.
Wow. That's scary.
She said she was having a hard time breathing and just freaking out because she couldn't breathe. And then they had nurses come down, hook her up to oxygen, called the ambulance, and then the ambulance came and picked her up and took her to the hospital.
Jeez. That's scary. Thank you so much for this call, Jamie. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for the making the Shadowgate beanies. I'd actually recommended it on one of your videos, said it would be cool to have beanies, and I actually just ordered one the other day, so
nice.
I'm looking forward to it coming.
Awesome. Well, thanks. They're great. I love it. I have one, and I it's so comfortable. So thank you so much, Jamie. All right, so let's go to Miles from California. Hi, Miles.
Hello. Hey, how's it going, Millie?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Yes. It's really good to call into the show. I've been a fan of yours for a while, so you're doing good work.
Yes, thank you.
I wanted to talk about that. Yeah. So I want to talk about Gavin Newsom. He it's really funny. Like maybe about 3 or 4 months ago, there were some lightning storms in California, and it's completely random. And he went out into the woods, and he was burnt down forest, and he was saying, "Oh, this is an obvious sign of climate change," And then in the same interview, he was like, "Oh, and the lightning strikes caused these fires," So I thought that was pretty funny. But I signed the Recall Gavin Newsom petition at my local gun store, and while I was purchasing a firearm. And so I support the Recall Gavin Newsom. But the thing is that if they recall Gavin Newsom, who are they going to get in? The Democrats control California. They're not going to let a Republican get in. It would just have to be a vote. And I think the 1.9 million signatures is good, but I still think people would vote to keep Gavin Newsom in,
Well, I think whoever it is next is going to think twice before shutting down businesses, schools, the economy, right? I mean, this is to teach him a lesson, teach our rulers. I won't even call them representatives because our election system is so just wrought with fraud, and to teach them this is what happens when you go draconian and decide to shut everything down, right? You get recalled.
Yeah. He got the message. He got the message because you could see he's out in the news saying "Oh, we're going to get things opened up." But still, that's just for the media. He's not actually going to get things opened up. But anyway, he's also, remember, a while ago, he got caught doing drugs when he was the mayor of San Francisco. He got caught doing cocaine.
Wow, I didn't hear about that. No.
Oh yeah. He's a drug user. He got caught doing it. He had to admit it. So anyway, he's pretty crazy. So I think either way, even if he did get the message, he's still not going to open up. I live in California right now, and everything. I mean, people are walking around wearing 2 masks. At my job, I was wearing my mask, and it was just a little bit under my nose. And this guy came in with 2 masks. And I work in Foster City, which is like the Bay Area. That's like the hub of all the leftists. And he said, "Oh, can you put your mask up?" And he was wearing 2 masks, you know. And he was talking about how he got the vaccine. So he got the vaccine, and he's still wearing 2 masks.
Yeah, some people are going pretty overboard with the double masking, triple masking, the little like plastic shields, the bubbles.
Yeah, he has that, but he didn't have a plastic shield. But he got the vaccine, you know, and he's still wearing his 2 masks. What's the point? He should wear, you know, he shouldn't even be having to wear a mask, you know. But either way, and then the guy earlier was talking about the vaccine. And I want to say, because my mom and my dad are both Democrats, and they both got the vaccine. And the next day, both of them, it was like the exact same thing. The next day, they didn't go to work. They were sleeping all day. They were like, "Oh, I feel really bad." And my mom, when my mom was doing it, my dad is like an extreme Democrat. He like loved the vaccines and all this stuff, right? And when my mom was sick, he called me up and he was like, "Is mom okay? Like, did you need to take her to the hospital and all this stuff?" And I was like, "I don't know," but she slept the whole day. And so did my dad. My dad's active. He, you know, he gets out and does sports and stuff, you know. And he took the vaccine. The next day, he was done. Like, he was sleeping the whole day. Couldn't even go to work. You know?
Wow. So was that like their only main symptom is just severe lethargy and fatigue?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. After that, they were all good. They're okay now. They didn't have to go to the hospital.
Right. Their bodies were just overloaded. All right. Well, thanks so much, Miles. Thanks for your call.
All right. Yeah. Good job.
All right. So let's talk a little bit to all right, we're going to talk a little bit with John Harden. Hi, John. You're on the air.
Hey, good. Hey, how y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I can say I've been better. Mostly what I would like to talk about, and thank you for having me on.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks, Millie. Everybody knows a lot of this. A lot of it's not in the dark, you know. Some of it might be in the dark. It's just a matter of waking people up, you know. And but when it comes to all of what we're experiencing in the United States right now, it's been inevitable since the founding of this country. And you know, I've got all kind of blood in my family, and it's a matter of us. I didn't even vote this last election. And I don't know if people want to say that my hands are going to be. Well, I want to tell you people, I'm trying to keep my hands clean. Because no matter who we vote for, we're the lesser of 2 evils, you know, or we want to have rule over us, you know what I mean, but are allowed to rule over us. But a no vote, I believe, is stronger than a vote when you feel like you have literally no choice. But however, since the founding of this country, cause and effect will take effect, and a lot of people have been fed up with how they've been treated over the decades, especially the ethnic groups, and most of all, the native groups that were on this land before anybody else showed up. And I'm doing my best not to offend anybody, but at the same time, the best way, the only way I know we can probably take back the reins of the country would be not to do an insurrection, but into the Capitol like everybody's wild and mad on God knows what, this high on ego or something. I mean, it's like a psychosis, you know what I mean? And I personally have experienced some problems with people taking advantage of a lot of people. And then the worst way you can take advantage of people is to keep them in the dark about what kind of country they live in.
Right.
And by educating them with everything but what they need to know. I'm sorry if you don't know this. I get nervous when I'm in the air. But I want everybody to know that just keep it together. Don't do anything dumb,
Yeah, we got to be smart and strategic. We can't walk into another setup like what happened on the 6th.
Don't let it.
Right.
Yes, we have to bridle our ego, bridle the ego, because those that are in power for the most part are who we allow to come into power, no matter if it's national, international. The unbridled ego of some of these people is what's driving the country or the world.
We can't let them continue to divide us. That's the goal, is to divide us. So egos a lot of time allow us to be divided. So we have to stay humble. We have to remember that God's the one at the end of the day in charge of all of this, and we have to keep ourselves humble and know that we're not going to try to play into the hands of people that want to manipulate us.
Yes, and the ego is there, and since you can use a little bit of ego at the same time, it's only to help you keep yourself in check, right? And I've had to have my butt put into check more than once. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and that's not just my friends and family or somebody that's trying to take it, but it's also law enforcement. I've had my encounters with law enforcement. Anyway.
Right. Well, thank you so much, John. I appreciate your call. I've got a lot of callers here I want to try to get to. Thanks.
Yes, you do. Thanks. Look.
All right, so now we're going to go to Charles Wagner. Hi, Charles.
Hi, Millie. First, I want to say thank you and your team. Oh, thank you. And you do an awesome job, man. Thank you so much for everything you do holding the line.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I just wanted to talk quickly about since that one video right during the elections that made a number of us here in our state. I can't do much with the federal, so I figured we should focus on our states. And I'm in Arkansas, which deals with Walmart, Tyson, J.B. Hunt. And we're dealing with NGOs, for example. When you brought up the AFL-CIO, that turned into a whole... You should have told people about the rabbit hole they would get into.
Right.
But we're walking right now in the center of the United States. Everyone come from the East and West Coast. All these people linked to, be honest, Virginia, CIA, all these other conglomerates. But the Heartland Forward Project is an NGO, for example, with Walmart, Tyson, J.B. Hunt, all of Silicon Valley, Google, Alphabet, DARPA, and they're coming into each of the homeland states, from Texas all the way up to Canada, to get that affected part where they couldn't get before. And I'm just asking people to wake up to that, start looking at the things they can affect. But other than that, I'm pretty damn excited to be here now and being able to witness people like you and other people, do this fight and stand there with you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Charles. I appreciate your call.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So next we're going to go to Cindy, who wants to talk about Gavin Newsom and the California recall. Hi, Cindy.
Hey, Millie. Hey, Millie, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Hanging in there, hon. So, look, I am a Southern California born and raised 60-year-old lady, and I've never seen our state in the shape that it's in now. Actually breaks my heart. It's really hurtful to hear a lot of people saying California gets what they voted for, because I am here to tell you California is red. We have had our election stolen from us for years, and it's been a blind eye. Her nephew, that whole cabal just leave that there. But there are a lot of people that have signed the petition. I too signed mine at a gun store. Very proud to say it. And yeah, I think it's going to work this time. There was another caller that had questioned if, well, they're just going to reelect him. No, if he gets recalled, he cannot be on the ballot. That's what happened when I'm old enough to remember when we recalled Gray Davis, and Gray Davis was not on the ballot, and that's how Schwarzenegger got in. But then that flipped sideways for us. So hope and pray that we get someone that's a worthy candidate to be able to turn our great state of California around, because we are a great state. We've got a lot of hard-working folks here, and we do our thing. We get up every single morning, we come to work, we do our job, and just to see what's happened. I mean, gas prices. I live in Ventura County. Gas prices are up 65 cents a gallon from last week. Yay for us. So there's that. And one thing that was very traumatizing today when I got my auto insurance policy, just kind of a side note, and we've all heard of the China social credit system, and I'm reading my privacy disclosure, and one of the things that's on there, it's including their monitoring internet or other similar network activity, including browsing history, search history, data on a consumer's interaction with the website, application or advertisement, professional and employment-related data. They can ask for performance evaluations. They're also looking at age, race, color, natural origin, citizenship, religion or creed, marital status, medical condition. Okay, I kind of get that one. Medical, disability, sex, gender identity, gender expression, pregnancy, childbirth-related and medical conditions, sexual orientation. Those are all being used to collect, in my opinion, for the CCP social credit system. So everybody read your privacy policies if y'all are in California, because folks, it's here, and they're watching us. Get a VPN. Millie, you do an awesome job. I appreciate you. Keep up the struggle. Keep up the fight. Saw you there on Jan 6, and couldn't be prouder to call you a fellow sister for America.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cindy. I appreciate your call.
Have a good one, sweetie. Take a good...
All right, so it looks like we're already almost at 3 o'clock. I'm going to go a little bit over just because I want to get to some of these callers. There are so many here. My goodness. So I'm going to go to a couple more callers just because we've got some amazing callers on today. Hi, Joe. Joe from California.
Hi, Millie.
Yes, hi.
Hey. First of all, you and Tori are absolutely amazing, and thank you guys for everything you do. I try and tune in as much as I can. A quick preface, I apparently voted in the California primary election. Funny thing is, I'm a mail by voter kind of guy, and I never received my ballot. So that's number one. Number two, about this whole, white supremacist recall effort. I don't know what the governor and all of these people are talking about, because I know plenty of people who are Hispanic, Asian, Black, all joining in on this recall effort. And it has absolutely nothing to do with, any kind of white supremacist ideology or group thereafter. The problem that we have here in California, being a name recognition state, ipso facto, Governor Schwarzenegger and all of these big name people being elected to offices, is that the narrative, the story is the thing that sells. If you claim racism, that's the thing that sells. And they're smartly applying that flawed logic to appeal to the masses of California, who are just literally, politically ignorant. They don't see the things that are going on. They go by the narrative. And the sad thing about that is the issue of racism is really bad here. It really is. I've been born and raised in Southern California, more predominantly the Long Beach, Compton area, and I've been targeted, due to what my perceived race was, and I look nothing like the race that, everybody thinks that. Everybody thinks I'm Mexican. Well, I'm not. And it's been a constant deal. For example, I live in the area now in close proximity of a local gang known as the Barrio Hawaiian Gardens gang. Now, this gang was known, locally for targeting black residents. Now, if you go down to the area of Hawaiian Gardens, you won't really find a whole lot of black people there now. Well, that's due to the gang activity there. The Southern Poverty Law Center, who's always spearheading the issue of racism, doesn't list this gang as a hate group. I even emailed them saying, hey, why don't you, list this gang as a hate group because they specifically targeted black families. Well, I never got a response. So the narrative goes, if they don't play the narrative in the media, and that's the same thing that's why people voted unanimous, in droves for President Trump, because he was anti-media, anti-establishment. And another little caveat, if you go down one of the streets in Hawaiian Gardens, which is a predominantly Latino community, you'll see quite prominently across the street from one of the main sources of income for that city, which is the bingo hall, and Latinos for Trump right there in the open. I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it. It's still up there to this day. Wow.
Well, I mean, it does seem like there are some race issues in California, obviously in America, but it's about what the narrative is that they want to push. Like how you said that the Mexican gang that was targeting the black citizens, you couldn't designate them as a hate group because it didn't fit the narrative, and they didn't even want to bother with it, right? Because, well, I mean, in the critical race theory that they're teaching, they teach that minorities can't be racist. That's what they teach, right? Which is backwards logic, doesn't make any sense, right? But this is being taught in our school system. That's scary.
It is. My daughter, she had an equity class. I didn't necessarily hear the teacher speaking of the critical race aspects, but I mean, the equity portion of it is a big part of it. And my daughter is, Asian looking. I say that because I'm half Filipino, but I look Mexican and I speak Spanish. So my question is, well, if she has some European ancestry, how much of that quote unquote privilege or that oppressive nature is applicable to her? And these are some of the questions that these critical race theorists, obviously neglect, because it's just meant to sow confusion and discord. And again, it's a very hot topic item that sells. I mean, it's no different than the industrial military complex that's allowed to go on. And I know I served for 12 years. These things that sell and sell and sell, all they're meant to do is just keep that same system within itself reciprocating an income, and that's exactly what's going on with these critical race theories. They don't have a particular skill. All they know how to do is create this discourse, and then that's what they're paid to do.
Right. It's alarming. And have you heard about some of the groups that are fighting back against critical race theory? I know that the Asian American groups are really advocating against critical race theory because they don't fit inside the narrative that it tries to create. Because Asian Americans, despite the fact that they're minorities, they actually get into universities. They do very well on state testing. They're very, I guess in Asian culture, they're very merit-based. And that's what they talk about in this article. And that translates into their children going off to universities and being high achievers because of the way that they're raised. And they're not fitting into that mold that if you're a minority, you should be doing not as good as white people, right? So they're fighting back against this. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm not familiar with any particular groups per se, but I mean, I know culturally, as Filipinos, we've taught our children equality from day one. I mean, even in some of our mythologies, right? We have a story about the tinikling bird, which flew down from, some heavenly body and landed on a piece of bamboo and struck it right down in the middle and split in equally two parts. And one part was, and I find this quite ironic because the whole MAGA movement and in Tagalog, we have a greeting, maganda umaga, which means good and morning. So I find those two things very funny. But one side of that bamboo was split, and it was called malakas, and the other side was maganda, for strength and beauty. And they're two parts of the same piece of bamboo. So, within that particular narrative, it's been befuddling to me to understand why, certain aspects within our own culture are starting to push these ideas. And it's very much a communist-centric idealism, because I look at some of these people that are pushing these narratives, and then you go to find out, hey, they're in the Philippines pushing communism too, and they're coming back over here to the States, pushing this, I'm pretty sure you've heard of the term Latinx and things like that. Well, they've now established that for Philippine X, and I'm like, well, are we going to change Tito to Titex or Tita to Titex? I mean, you're undoing our entire culture here in the name of communism. My wife is under the impression that more people are waking up. Now I'm a little bit pessimistic about that, just because I think the uneducated are outweighing the people who are waking up to these facts. In addition to the fact that people like us don't really have so much of a platform apart from you providing it to us. Sure. But I am glad to hear that more people, especially if they're organizing, I mean, that's very, it's very warming to me, but a lot of us are already looking at, other states. I already had a neighbor that moved to Oklahoma. I'm planning on moving, it seems like a waste here unless we can start seeing some very significant and meaningful change, not only in our education system, but in our political spectrum as well.
Definitely. Well, Joe, thank you so much for your insight. I really appreciate you calling in.
Thank you, and keep up the good work.
Awesome. All right, so let's try to get to Dr. David.
Millie.
Hi, David.
Hello, Millie.
Yes, hi.
Hi. Yes, first of all, I'll say that my real name, I am a doctor, but my name isn't David, and for reasons you'll understand, aside from being destroyed once by this ongoing machine, what I'm going to talk to you about is a little bit sensitive right now, with regards to the vaccines. This month, the American Psychological Association, in the March 2021 publication called Monitor on Psychology, which is the journal that most psychologists and psychiatrists read in their practice to help individuals with problems, has a big vial on the front of it, a COVID-19 vaccine vial, and underneath it, it says on the vial how behavioral science can communicate risks, smooth logistics, and encourage vaccine uptake. Jumping ahead then is a statement by the president of the APA. Her name is Dr. Jennifer F. Kelly, who's a PhD and not an MD, making the following statement to the psychologists that read this. With vaccines for COVID-19 being shown to be safe and effective, it is now up to us experts in human behavior to help our communities begin the process of getting vaccinated. We're at a critical juncture as a society, and psychologists must play a key role. We know that in order for a vaccine to have an impact, it must be administered to a large percentage of the population. But a variety of factors have swirled to create a swath of people who have become susceptible to the misinformation and conspiracy theories around the COVID-19 vaccines. This is where psychological science has a great benefit to our fellow citizens, and goes on to explain how to encourage people to take the vaccine. This is a very dangerous thing because, number one, they're making the claim that it's safe and effective. Number two, they are giving it to psychologists, and they're giving us our walking orders. They're giving psychologists the orders now to work with people to convince them to take this safe vaccine. And the people that go to psychologists and psychiatrists they put a lot. They're troubled by other things. It's not that they don't go in there about the vaccine. They go there. They have depression. They have issues. They go to talk that out. They put their trust in these people and us, and the consensus and what the medical community goes by are these marching orders given by the APA, and are now affecting a whole bunch of people. And when you talk about something like a psyop, this is a mass psyop on a national level, if not universal one. That's very disturbing.
Yeah, it definitely looks very disturbing. I mean, even just looking at, I think I'm looking at the same article right now, the talking about the controlling of misinformation. Does it seem like, I haven't had the time to read this whole article, but does it seem like to you they're almost trying to classify someone that's not wanting to get a COVID vaccine, or, concerned about side effects, or wanting to opt out of vaccines as a whole, that's some kind of a psychological condition, like that maybe they're experiencing, maybe paranoia, or does it try to label someone who doesn't want to take COVID vaccine as someone with a psychological condition?
Yes, or very weak enough to believe in quote unquote, conspiracy theories. And so the remedy, of course, is their trusted confidant because as a psychologist, the people that come to you are very malleable. They're in very weak psychological states over something or another. They put a lot of faith in you, and your responsibility to them is to, of course, treat their illness or their mental issues that are disturbing the person. A PhD in psychologist is not a medical degree. There's no expertise, and in fact, the psychologists that are reading this and are given these orders, most of them are very, very liberal, as you could imagine, and they're passing this on to people who will believe anything that they say, that they'll stop doing their own research and go along with what they're being told by their trusted psychologists.
So basically, psychologists are almost like being given marching orders to tell anyone that has concerns or that doesn't want to be vaccinated that's just misinformation and you're just falling into hoaxes. And then they have this whole like idea behind the whole thing, that it's like a manipulation from the media, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And if I may, that there's another element to this that's maybe a little bit more sinister. Let's say you're depressed with something in your life. It could be your family, it could be money problems, whatever. And you come to see me, the psychologist. And so you say, "Hi, I'm Millie, and I'm depressed." And, we start having a conversation, tell me about your life, and, so on and so forth. And I pick up on the fact that you are, in fact, a MAGA person. You are a Trump person. Then as we, discuss things, I'll slip in a question to you. So, do you own a gun? And let's say you say, yes, I have a gun or two at home. Okay, we keep talking and so on and so forth. Well, what's just happened in that brief little conversation as we've been having this friendly chat is, number one, you are at a psychologist. You are seeking psychological help. Number two, you've told me now you are depressed. Number three, you told me you own a gun. Legally, as a psychologist, I can have your guns taken away. I can have your guns confiscated because you have now said you're depressed, you own a gun, you're under psychological treatment, and those are the criteria that it takes to have guns removed from you legally, within the scope of the Second Amendment, within the laws that have been passed. I'm not saying all psychologists will go that far, but it's opening a really big can of worms, and psychology, therefore, is now being moved where if you're liberal and you have psychological problems, depression, and so forth, maybe you're suicidal, if you're liberal, you get treated for your real problems. If you're conservative, you get psychology based on the fact that your psychological issues stem on your conservatism.
Interesting. So there's a bias there in the field, and they're
absolutely
targeting conservatives. And do you speak from experience with this? Like, do you personally know this, or are you just going off of what the APA is saying?
No, I know this. I am not practicing in this area now. Like I said, I've had a few things happen where, I was on the news and I was tar and feathered, for coming out and saying certain things. I don't want to go through that again.
Sure.
In fact, my whole career was destroyed over this, of telling the truth. And so I'm not in that capacity anymore, but the people that I do know that are in that capacity, most of them are liberal and buy into this. But the ones that don't are kind of faced with, do I go against the American Psychological Association, open myself up for malpractice potentially? Do I, push the vaccine on people and, maybe go after, and treat people for conservatism? If you came to me with life problems and you said, hi, I'm depressed about my life and, it's money problems, or you've got problems with your kids or whatever.
Sure.
And I treat you for being a conservative, that's not addressing what's really depressing you. So you're gonna leave my office in as bad, if not worse condition, because you're going to feel guilty about your conservatism, than when you walked in the door, because your real issues aren't being addressed.
So basically, they see the belief system, the beliefs that many conservatives hold as misinformation. So when somebody that's conservative goes into them and expresses some of their beliefs, they're automatically going to think, oh, this person is someone that is psychologically being influenced by misinformation, and they're going to try to treat you in that way to address that you believe misinformation, rather than actually addressing the actual issue you came in to address, which, like you said, could be money issues, family issues, whatever. That's really interesting. I've never thought about that. I've heard a lot about psychological abuses on children with the Adderall, the ADHD diagnoses, but I never thought about this subject that you've brought up, as far as like them treating the conservative belief system as its own condition, right?
Yes, and that is what's happening. And it's, when you see, the suicide rate, going up, take a look at a lot of the demographics are actually, shifting. How can I put it? There is this built-in elitism within, you got a PhD or an MD behind your name, you've gone through and, been partially or fully indoctrinated by the education system as you got to that point. And nobody's going to award you a PhD anyway if you come off as a conservative in a university at this point.
Right. Many college students are having to fake that they're a liberal in how they write their essays and their things so that they can pass.
Yes, and that causes a lot of depression and cognitive dissonance in itself. But yeah, it kind of puts them in that position. But it's really important to note that these elitists, the PhDs, the PhD MDs that are acting as psychologists and psychiatrists, when you come in that door and they say, hey, I'm the one with the PhD and the MD, and you are, coming in as a patient, oh, you're conservative, you are a, quote, deplorable, and look down on you from that perspective, without showing you that, but then see that as a condition to treat. Your depression isn't getting treated. The cause of your depression isn't getting treated. Instead, they're busy trying to push the vaccine on you, and you're depressed and you're weak. And if we've had several conversations, you trust what I say, and oh yes, and I believe my psychiatrist, my psychologist, and I'll go out and get that vaccine. And as a quid pro quo, I'll start working with you on your depressive issues.
Really?
Now that you've seen the light.
What I find most concerning is if they're starting to look at this as someone who's being influenced by misinformation and has a psychological propensity for that, right? What's scary is, what about the parents out there who do not want to vaccinate their children? Are they going to be seen because you don't want to vaccinate your child? It must be because you have a psychological condition that makes you believe that misinformation. Therefore, we're going to take your kids from you. Like, I can see how they could try to abuse that and be like, okay, well, you shouldn't have your children. You shouldn't have guns. Just like what you're saying. This is something I
think that's a very brilliant observation, and I would say that, I would say I haven't seen that happen, but if you say that that's the path they're going down, I would agree with you 100%.
Well, I could just imagine, because I, as a mom myself, I have chosen to not vaccinate my children, and the pushback that I get from doctors, pediatricians, is very... They give a lot of pushback. They try to, use a lot of fear and suggestion and really try to convince me to not vaccinate, right? And you can see that some of them get angry and upset about it. And they want to actually debate me on vaccine safety. Like, they start getting to like, okay, I want to debate you, rather than just patient-doctor relationship, all of that, right? And...
Right.
And so what's concerning there is, if the psychological associations start to then reclassify anyone who's not wanting to anti-vaxxers as people under some kind of psychological suggestion or misinformation or cult or, whatever they want to classify it as, I just see that as more ways for them to try to come in and take our kids away.
Yes, I think that's very, very true. And then, depending on the age of your kids, let's say you've got kids in high school and their friends have been vaccinated, and, they go to the school counselor and talk to them, and they say, my mom, was against vaccines and I haven't been vaccinated. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, well, what's wrong with your mother? And we need to talk to her. And we need to get you vaccinated.
Right. It reminds me of that Project Veritas video that James O'Keefe put out, where you had the PBS principal counsel, Michael Beller, who basically is saying in this private conversation that they're planning and that they want to take away Republican voters' children from them and send them to these child re-education camps, and that PBS Kids is going to be providing all kinds of programming to help them deal with the fact that they've just been taken from their mom and dad. Did you ever see that video? Because what you're talking about here...
No, I've heard of the video, but I have not seen that.
Right.
But I believe that to be 100% true.
Right. Let me just play it really quick. Let me see if you can hear it on the broadcast. I'm not sure if you can hear it. Can you hear it on the broadcast or no?
No, I'm actually not looking at the screen intentionally because there's a delay, and so I see you talk. It's out of sync, so it's a little difficult to
right. Well, basically, I'll just narrate what happens for you guys who haven't seen this video. James O'Keefe put out this video where the PBS attorney, who he resigned after this video came out, how he talked about their plans to take Republican voters' children away from them. He says, we go for all the Republican voters, and Homeland Security will take their children away and will put them, Trump supporters' children, in re-education camps. Beller can be heard saying in an unidentified woman in the video. He also said the Enlightenment camps would be akin to forcing children to watch PBS and Sesame Street, which is weird because he works for PBS as a lawyer. So it's interesting that the Psychological Association is kind of taking this route and trying to classify people in this way as just being, believing misinformation. It's interesting to see if they actually go further into this direction, trying to actually take away guns, take away kids, all of that stuff from conservatives.
Yes, and importantly too is that they're not qualified. I mean, having a PhD in psychology makes you qualified to talk to somebody, about depression, about, weight loss, about, alcoholism, those kind of things.
Right.
It does not give you the medical expertise to assess whether or not, as the president here, in her statement begins, the vaccines have been proven safe and effective. That's the first thing she said. They have not been proven safe and effective. The FDA, it's not even FDA approved.
Right.
And so, I'm sure she believes actually what she's saying. She probably wasn't told to say that. But, it's like having a PhD in history and you're giving a lecture in geography or something. They're making these claims and they're overextending their expertise and using that expertise to influence people that are, in positions where they're very open to suggestion.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for calling in. I guess I'll just call you Dr. David, even though that's your anonymous name. But thank you so
I don't
much.
need any more fame in my life.
Right. Understandable. Thank you so much for calling in.
Well, thank you for having.
Okay, so we're going to try to go to a couple more callers. I know it's past 3. I typically do my show from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern time. It's 3:27 right now. I'm going to go a little bit longer because I'm having fun here, and we've got a lot of callers that seem to be wanting to talk about some really interesting subjects. So I'll just keep going with the callers for a little bit longer today. And remember, guys, my everyday daily show from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. is primarily on Twitch. I'm Millennial Millie on Twitch. I don't live stream every day on Facebook and YouTube and Periscope. My everyday show is reserved for Twitch because my subscribers on Twitch support me, and that's just something I offer for them for subscribing. But I do like to also sometimes open it up and live stream on all of the platforms. But I do encourage you guys to go to my Twitch account and subscribe. You can even just watch live if you don't have the money to subscribe, as long as you go watch on Twitch while it's live between 2 and 3 p.m. Eastern time. If you're a subscriber, you can always play back, edit clips, make little snippets and watch it as many times as you want to, or whatever time fits your schedule best. All right, we're going to go to another caller here. We're going to go to Alex Field about the indoctrination of children. Hi, Alex.
How you doing?
Hi there. Thanks for waiting.
How you doing? Yeah, no problem. That was very interesting what he was saying, because it's all true. My name's Alex Field, and I'm from Pennsylvania. I live in Texas, Abilene, Texas. So it's pretty good here. We don't have no racism, but most definitely, what's going on with our children is very, very bad. And I want to make sure, I have an 11-year-old, and she's in middle school now, 6th grade, and she was vaccinated. And after she was vaccinated, she had a lot of problems. She was ADHD, which I noticed all of this when I started looking into it, because in Pennsylvania, most of the black kids, I'm African Cuban. I guess I'm allowed to say black, right? No, I'm just playing. But in Pennsylvania, they what they did is we had 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th graders. They weren't even able to read or write. And they were just passing them on, and they were all ADHD, and then wanted the money off of the government. They were like excited for SSI checks, like, you know, and, you know, we actually had a good school system. We were able to learn a lot, I guess you would say. But, you know, once you go back to the streets, it's the jungle. You know, it's just gang banging and ridiculousness. My mom sent me away to Texas, thank God, at 14. And, you know, I was able to survive from there. But,
so,
you know,
was your
Texas is
daughter
great. I love Texas.
vaccinated with COVID or with something else?
No. She was vaccinated, like, you know how they vaccinate babies, like 400 vaccines nowadays.
Oh, okay. And then you said that she was struggling with ADHD?
Yeah, like really, really bad. Like really bad. Like it's different. Like, and we had to put her on like medication. And like she's like way better. You can't really have a conversation with her without her medication. It's not like Ritalin or nothing, because I was against Ritalin. I was against medication, period, but she wasn't doing good in school at all. Right. She wasn't able to concentrate on nothing. So like I'm gonna want to start like CBD or something, because it was pretty bad. And that was the second grade, and they wouldn't even allow me to hold my kid back. And I was very upset. I was like, well, why can't I hold my kid back? They said, oh, it's harder to hold your kid back these days. I said, that makes no sense. But yeah.
Right.
Like we have that problem. And then like my dad, he came from Cuba. And when he came from Cuba, like, you know, he was a black Cuban, but he fought the dumb war where, you know, they did the divide and conquer there with Castro. And, you know, they took the black Cubans against the white Cubans. And then what do you have? You know, communism.
Yeah.
It's very bad there. It's very bad there. I never had a problem with racism. My mom is white and my brothers and sisters are white. I'm the only colored one. I never had a problem with racism ever. Like, so all of that's ridiculous. And then I start learning, anyways, I'm sorry. I started learning about what they start doing to these kids in school. Like, you know, like I started my 2 businesses. I invented a thing for my son. It's called Hands Off Baby Bottle Trainer. And what that is, it's like a koozie that goes around the baby bottle, and you strap their hands in. And I have a patent and everything, you know, website, blah, blah. But, like, you know, I invented that because if you go look up anything to make sure that your baby's, you know, holding on I'm a dad. I don't want to hold on to the bottle. And, you know, you look up something, it's all baby bottle popping situations. And it's just like, okay, and then everybody's against it, but everybody's purchasing it. I'm like, that's stupid. So I ended up inventing that, and then he was able to hold his bottle in 3 days at 5 months, and then he jumped like it's proven to jump your child 5 to 6 months ahead of themselves because they learn the hand and eye coordination and fine motor skills.
Very
you know, and I worked with like West Texas Rehab. Yeah.
What do you
like,
think
and because
about,
they want to dumb down your children.
Right. They want to dumb them down, and they're doing so in the education system. Because what they're teaching kids in public schools, instead of teaching them mathematics, arithmetic, whatever, English, teaching them things that they can use in life, they're teaching them critical race theory. They're teaching them gender identities and all this weird stuff. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's just crap. They haven't taught my daughter none of that. And, like, I ask her every day when she gets home from school. She had a teacher that was wearing, like, a BLM mask, and I was like, well, that's bull crap. I was like, well, tell her all lives matter and tell her shut up and take it off. But that's ridiculous. But, like, what they're doing with that is very, very bad because, like, you know, they're creating a big problem with these children. Like, me, I used to be, you know, gang banging, I would say, and like, you know, like I loved hip hop. I would do all the things with hip hop, and you know, when you notice, what are you looking at? It's all brainwashed, you know, sell drugs, want money, and girls, and then they portray it onto, you know, little girls, and it's ridiculous. And I don't let my daughter listen to none of that. And then you go to the school systems, and they're doing the same thing now. Like, you know, they're actually taking like education out and not letting them learn like about Hitler or anything. Like I asked my daughter, like, you know anything about Hitler? And she said no. And I was like, okay, well, it's time to educate you. Like, you know, you need to be knowing what's going on. So I'm educating her more and more every day, especially when she's home.
Right. I mean, it's pretty sad that the music quality is just so, it's going down in society. I mean, even at the Grammys. Did you see that performance with Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B?
Yeah, that's irritating. Like I don't like I said, I don't let my daughter watch that. I seen like when I pulled up my phone this morning and I seen that, and I was like, see, this is what I'm talking about. Like, you know, y'all are doing this, but y'all are deleting Dr. Seuss. Y'all are doing this, but y'all are deleting you know, people with a voice that actually have something good to say, that's educating.
They're like
but then you wonder why these little girls at 13. Yeah, that's disgusting. I think they're down for sexualizing our children. Yeah, it's very disgusting. Like,
and
when I was
every
young, I
other
would have
thing
thought it
is
was cool.
cussing.
Like, that's how bad it is.
It's cussing and profanity. Like, even if you go on TikTok, every video, like, I'll look at TikTok because I keep up on the trends and what's going on, and I'll look through and I'll see just cussing. Like, all these videos that are just profane, and they're normalizing it to where Generation Z, they cuss all the time. They're overly sexualized. They believe in all of this gender bending stuff, the infinite genders, and they're just hyper sexualized, and it's not good. It's definitely dysfunctional.
Yeah, it's really teaching our society. Yeah, it's definitely dysfunctional. It's just like, I don't know what's going on. Hollywood is Holly weird. And, like, I started learning about, like, all of this. Like I said, like, when COVID hit, like, I started really learning about all this. 2 years ago when Eminem dropped that Kamikaze, and he said, I sold my soul to get this, I had to pull over my car and rewind it because I was like, what did you just say? Like, you know, and I was like, it was the one with him. And I was like, well, did you just say you sold your soul? Then I really started looking into it. And that's before YouTube started demonetizing everybody. But I started really looking into it about these rappers and everything else, and like, oh, you know, this is real. Like, you know, this is good versus evil. God, you know, is God, and, you know, we have him above us, like, you know, or on the ground with us or whatever it is, because he works through the people. But then you have these demons doing what they're doing, and they're really going after our kids. And we can't allow this. Like, you know, we have to actually get together. I do so much now, like I do with my businesses, and I invented an app as well, and I want to get that off the ground all the way. But, you know, we're going to have to create our own phones. We're going to have to create our own everything, because, like, we can't be we got to be producers and not, you know, consumers anymore. And it's disgusting that they're sending this music into our children's ears, and with that different vibration and frequency, and, like, you know, it's bad. Tom McDonald calls it out all the way. I love that.
Yeah, he's got some good music. Like, I do like some of his songs. I believe it or not, I saw his latest video on YouTube, and I was like, wow, he is speaking the truth here. Like, wow. I'll have to show part of it to you guys who haven't seen it.
Yeah, you have to. Like, Fake Woke, he called it out. Then he did the Clown World, and, like, you know, people were expecting something different. But then and then it was funny because they just played that clown, you know how they said they blue screened it out, and then they start playing the clown music at the you know, one of the presentations, like at the White House or something. I was like, oh man, because this is like a movie, and I'm really want to be a part of it, because that's what we all have to do. You know, it's up to us at the same time. And I really appreciate what you do. And, you know, I've been watching you for a long time, especially when you're bringing the Trump supporter, the black supporter in. I kept showing everybody that video. You brought that black Trump supporter in from across the street. I was like, oh, this is how you do it.
Yeah,
and then I started, like, you know, watching Tory Sanchez. Well, like, you did that right, though, because, like, it really showed, like, you know, like, how much hate and everything that they're doing. Like, you're telling me that all these people that were killing children, and what happened in the abortion clinics, they were selling the body parts, and then you're going to still allow this abortion thing go on, and this is disgusting. Like, it's more disgusting than anything. We can fit everybody in the world in Texas.
Right.
I would say Earth.
Like, I think a lot of people, a lot of people really, like, grew a special place in their heart for Marco.
So I decided I was going to challenge some of these protesters to see if they would walk with me to the MAGA side.
Yeah, someone said your future wife's over there.
To judge for themselves as to whether or not Trump supporters are as racist, bigoted, xenophobic, and as hateful as the mainstream media says.
I didn't really pick him. Like, I'm pretty sure I was just standing there and I was interviewing people, and then I'm not sure if I just randomly went up to him or if he went up to me, but we just started talking, and I was just like, yeah, you know, why don't you come over? Because he was like, if I go over there, like, he asked me, if I go over there, Are they
To be like being yelled at? These people are being yelled at. Does this make you think that these people doing this is going to change their mind?
Absolutely not. This is just hate. This is fueling fire to their fire. Hey, Infowars, I watch you guys all the time.
What do you think about all this hate over here?
I think it's just like unnecessary. I feel like people just need to like actually like think about things like instead of just sitting here. Hey, I'm not
7 million views, but then when you look at it, it says 23,720 people reached. So something's off. And then only 1.9 million engagements, yet it has 4.7 million views. Like, there's something really weird going on with Facebook's analytics, okay? They're definitely messing up.
Actually, initially, the Republican Party was actually the one that was for like everybody to be equal.
Yeah, but they don't know that.
I know.
Like God, like I had a breakdown in like last year, and start really like looking. And I had this. My brother-in-law committed suicide in 2019 Father's Day, and he came to me in my dreams last year, like during all this COVID stuff. And he showed me this hologram as a grave, and it was amazing. And I was like, okay, this is crazy. So this is when I started inventing my app after my breakdown. And then we really start learning, like all the analytics and everything. And I start learning because it was harder to sell my product because with the hands-off baby bottle trainer, it was harder to sell that more than anything because you were having to spend a certain amount of money. They want me to spend like $400 before it would actually reach what it needs to reach. And I was like, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Their analytics and everything that they're doing. Instagram, they didn't really use Twitter. I was like, man, TikTok's it. We got to make it on TikTok. But awesome. Yeah, most definitely. They're messing with their videos.
Yeah, well, thanks so much, Alex, for calling in. I'm going to try to get to a couple more callers here.
Yeah, thank you. God bless. And Tori says she's been educating, you educate us, and I really appreciate it. One day we will meet, hopefully, and maybe I can get y'all onto this app, or something. We all have beautiful things to do, and what we got to do is we got to bring people closer to God. Definitely. Because Jesus comes back to divide.
Definitely.
So, but God bless you, Millie. Thank you,
Alex. Thanks. All right, so we'll go to one more caller. And then I'm probably going to have to end it out because I'm not going to be able to get to all of these callers. There's just too many. So let me see here. Okay, we're going to talk to Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm so happy to talk to you guys. That's awesome. I wanted to tell an awesome story about what I tried based off of some information that Tori had given out on one of her streams about how to handle getting around mask mandates and things like that.
Okay, sure.
With my son. He's 8 years old and he's in 3rd grade, and I live in Indiana, and we have an executive order mask mandate. It's supposed to end, I believe, in June, but I've had him remotely learning now for the whole year because I refused to send my very loving, hugging, touching son to school where he has to remain 6 feet away from his friends and wear a mask. And I just think it's traumatizing. So Tori had brought up how you can find little loopholes. Well, I went in and I looked at our executive clause, and I saw that, there was a loophole with people who had mental health issues and so on. They were not excused, but there was an exception for those. So they wanted him to come in to do an iRead, which is a state mandated testing. And he had to come in and sit in a cafeteria 6 feet away with a face mask on to do these tests. And I said, nope, not happening. And I said, well, can we work together? Because he does fall under one of the clauses as far as the executive order, which is mental health. I said, and she's like, well, let me talk to the principal. I will see what happens. Can he wear a face shield? And I was like, absolutely not. It causes him to feel like he can't breathe and he'll have a panic attack. And it's not going to happen. So I took the executive order. I circled the part where it said that, the exemptions. And I also underlined how it was only strongly suggested for the face shields, and sent that to the principal and her. And I got a reply back yesterday basically saying that I won. I got through. So he's going to be able to go in and take the test that he needs to take, mandatory for the state. And he's going to do it. I mean, it's not going to be around students or anything, but he's going to be able to take the test, and he's not going to have to wear the mask or be under those restrictions.
Right.
So I have a friend who is a licensed therapist who was going to write me a letter if necessary, but that was going to take it a bit further, and I would have fought harder. But I'm just saying, those little things that Tori and you guys say and tell us on how to do it and how to, work around and just do a little bit of research. I took a leap. I did it for the first time, and succeeded, and it gave me such an empowering feeling, and I'm so grateful to you guys.
There you go.
And I want everybody to know that, what, it does work. If you are afraid to try to speak up or do anything, don't be. It works. Just look for those tiny loopholes. I found a little loophole in a state-mandated mask, clause or executive order, and I won.
There you go. There you have it. I mean, that's what happens when you take action. Taking action is what produces results. Imagine the results if all these parents who don't like the mask, who think it's all ridiculous, if they all went to the school and protested or boycotted and said, we're pulling our kids out, and everyone sent their teachers emails, we're not putting our kid back until A, B, C, or D. I mean, imagine the power that those actions could have, just like the old time when they did the school boycotts, okay? That right there can have power. People taking action makes changes, right? So we need to do something. We need to use that same energy. And how empowering that was for you to have won that, right? But imagine if
that's
you
what
have
I wanted to say.
Right. Imagine if you do something with a group of people and your group wins something, getting the critical race theory thrown out of schools, or
Absolutely. Oh, I have big aspirations. My best friend also as well. We're going to tackle this head on. We've got a bunch of ideas, thanks to all of you guys, on how to do this. I took the leap and overcame my fear of what could possibly happen, because, with children, everything is so scary, and how easily they can just go, you know what, and yank them out of your home. And it's just, for no reason. And there's almost nothing that you can do. And that's where we're heading right now. And if we don't start doing this, it's going to get worse. And especially with these vaccines. I mean, I think you guys touched on it not that long ago about how they're going to be offering all these wonderful benefits to the people who have the vaccine, but they're going to tell the people who have that got the vaccine that they can't have those benefits until those who don't have the vaccine get it. So you know what's going to happen? Oh my goodness. You think we saw chaos over this last summer? It's going to get crazy.
Right.
So,
and you're not the first
we
mom
have to.
that said that. Basically, you worry about doing these type of things, getting retaliated against, a CPS or Department of Family Services coming after your kids. I experienced that myself when I was arrested, when I released Shadowgate, and how they literally already had foster parents waiting for my kids. Right? They literally had foster parents lined up, despite the fact that we've got grandparents, uncles, aunts, everything, right? They could just be first in line and take those kids if anything ever happened, like if there was emergency. No, they already had foster parents lined up. They were trying to take our kids and put them into some liberal people's homes so they could be indoctrinated. Okay? But what made that impact? What stopped that from happening? People took action. There were so many people outside that courthouse protesting for me, and I thank God every day for them for taking action and doing that.
Yes,
they were
I hear your story everywhere.
They were outside the juvenile court hearing when they were hearing whether or not they were going to try to take my kids away from me. And those Department of Family Service workers, those people had their eyes were like this. Okay, they were like, they were freaked out. There were all these parents out there, all these people out there protesting, like, you are not going to take those babies. Like, you are not going to take those children. And that is what they backed off. They just backed off. You could see like they were not expecting that. And so when we take action, we get good results. So I think the most important thing is we need to take action.
Absolutely, and it proved it to me by doing that. And I'll tell you one thing: I don't have any family or grandmas or grandpas or my mom or father. My mom was murdered when I was 22. I don't have anybody for my son to go to other than his unfortunate Biden-supporting father, who makes him wear masks and won't even compromise with me over it, who thinks I'm a complete and total lunatic. And I mean, so it was even more terrifying for me to step forward and do it. But you know what? I just said, screw it. I'm doing it. And now I'm so empowered. I ordered a brand new computer. My best friend and I are thinking about ways to have like conversations on how Tor and Gavin do on Stereo app, how they talk things out. We're talking about, we have ideas like that just to try to get to like regular people around here. I'm also looking into doing the local, getting even further into the political part of it, because I support Bergie 110%. And all of you guys, really, I support all of you, and I believe in you, and I'm so grateful that I finally found you guys. It took forever to finally find somebody who gave the real truth and the real help, and I'm so grateful for you guys, and I just want you to really know that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm so proud of you, and I'm so happy for you, and I'm so thankful for you, and I am. I can't even express it, because what they did to you and with those babies, that's a mother's worst nightmare, and never should that ever happen on this soil or in this world, period.
Right.
It's unacceptable.
Definitely.
So yes.
Thank you. Should never happen. And part of me feels, I feel like I have a responsibility because I have a big following and because people came out to support me like that. Right. I want to be able to return that, and I want to be able to help other people out there. So I really want to figure out a way to work with a group, or even maybe create a group. I don't know. An action group, like a parent action group, a concerned citizens action group, to where when we see parents being retaliated against, where CPS is trying to take their kids because they didn't vaccinate them, we could all go protest. Or, someone being retaliated against for, standing up to do something to help support them. So we need to figure out some way to where we all operate as a team, work together, we can support each other, and that way it'll allow some of the people who are a little bit afraid, because I know you're not the only mom that's expressed your fear and your concern about, if you stand up, are they going to try to come for your kids? Because really, we need to do something about CPS. The rights they have to literally just come in and steal children is disgusting. It dates back to the Native American children, because these organizations, the CPS organizations, would just steal the children. They have way too much power to take away people's children. And I think we need to do something about that. We need to pressure our representatives to better
I have actually, I have a very, very good friend who is actually works for CPS here in Indiana, in Lake County. And I mean, her hands are legitimately tied on anything she can do. She's not doing it for a vindictive. She's a product of a very broken home, and she chose to go into that field to help children, but little did she know. And I mean, it's killing her. I've seen her deteriorate since she's gotten into the doing the work, and it's horrible. But I mean, she shares stories with me, but unfortunately those things can't be said out loud, and that could hurt her. And she has to take care of her 5 siblings too. She helps because of the broken home stuff. But there's so many factors into play, and there's so many dark entities. But if we all stand together, and I mean, even I'm sure she would even do it too, just knowing that she had the support, you know. And I mean, just me, that's kind of not like, you know, I try to, when I go over there, I try to talk her, you know, tell her and show her and tell you about you guys and see and stuff like that. And eventually I think I might get around to it, but there's so many things. And that's another thing with this John Sullivan fellow and his little defund the police and the Black Lives Matter. One last thing before I leave. When my mother was murdered, it involved, there was police involved in the scenario, okay? Now, the killing happened, it was, regardless of what happened, how her and her boyfriend died was justified due to the fact that her boyfriend had a gun. So no matter what, I ended up finding her name and his name on a Black Lives Matter site and on also a police brutality site, and with information that I didn't even know about my own mother's death. Like, that was not even close to the truth. So there's donation buttons, and they're capitalizing on this crap. Weird. And it absolutely traumatized. Yeah, it's disgusting. I called the number, and I got a gentleman in Massachusetts who, of course, takes no responsibility for the post that was on Facebook on this group that's affiliated with Black Lives Matter and police brutality. They had no information on how my mother died or what happened. The police did not kill my mother. And if they did do it, and it was an accident, because like I said, her boyfriend was armed. She was stuck in a situation. It's crazy. I could write a book. Maybe I can get a few tips from Bertie on that. But yeah, I just want to say, yeah, there's also if anybody has ever experienced something like that, and you know for a fact that it's not the case, I would double check and make sure that they're not trying to capitalize on the fact and the loss of your family, because that's disgusting. And when I saw it and I thought John Sullivan, and I can't even explain to you the anger.
I bet.
The anger.
That would make anyone mad.
On top of all of it, yeah, that's my next one. Cease and desist, and I'm going after them. That's disgusting, and I don't support it in any way, shape, or form. I'm not saying that I don't support Black Lives Matter, and I support all lives matter. The entire world matters.
Right. Definitely.
That's it. But
well, thank you so much, Jennifer. You had some really interesting insights and things to share with us today.
Yeah, thank you guys for helping me. So I wish you all the luck, and I love all of you guys, and I'll continue to support you as long as I can.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Okay, so that's going to be our last caller for today. We went an hour over just to get through to some of these callers because I know a lot of you guys were waiting on the line. I apologize to everyone that I wasn't able to get to today. Even with going an hour over, I wasn't able to get to everyone. I apologize, but I do these call-in shows regularly. I'm on here every day, Monday through Friday on Twitch from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern time. So you guys could go subscribe over to Twitch if you want to be able to watch my show every day. That's twitch.tv, Millennial Millie. That's where you guys can catch me every day, guaranteed, 2 to 3. Eastern time. Sometimes I, every other day, every couple days, or maybe even a couple times a week, I will do live streams on these other social media platforms as well. I have to be a little bit more careful about the topics and things that I cover on these other channels because it is likely to get me banned. But on Twitch, it's even more fun because there's no hold bars. I pretty much say whatever I want on there. And obviously the end goal here will be to set up live streaming on my website, millennialmillie.com. That is what I'm working towards. I'm trying to work with other CDN networks and get that going because freedom will come in the form of ultimate independence. So the sooner we can get out of these social media ghettos, the better. So please support me. I'm an independent journalist. I am your vector, your way to speak and get your truth out. I'm going to be doing these live shows daily and doing call-ins as well. So millennialmillie.com. Please support my work, my independent journalism. You can donate, hit the donate button Your donations really mean a lot to me. I'd like to be able to hire teams and writers and editors and get more people going to push out the truth, get information out to people. We have clothing items, hats, shirts, all of that good stuff, stickers, posters, signed, autographed posters. The shirts, the Drain the Swamp shirts are going to be perfect. Summertime's coming up, spring and summer. White shirts, wonderful high quality prints. I mean, look at that quality on those prints. We do not skimp when it comes to getting quality items and quality shirts. That's the Drain the Swamp t-shirt, Millennial Millie edition, with the crazy swamp creature attacking the Capitol and me stabbing it with the microphone, fighting back with free speech. That is the message there, draining the swamp by fighting back with the First Amendment. Once again, I hope you guys enjoyed the show today. I hope that it was informative, and I know we had some amazing callers. I really appreciate those calls. That is going to conclude today's show. I will see you guys all tomorrow, Wednesday, at 2 p.m. Eastern